The night was heavy with humidity, the kind that clung to the skin and carried the smell of rain yet to fall. Overhead, the clouds churned slowly, like ink in water, thickening by the minute. It was the sort of oppressive air that made silence feel louder, as if something was holding its breath. Sarah walked her golden retriever, Max, through the familiar suburban streets outside Philadelphia. Usually the soft rustle of leaves and distant hum of highway traffic made for a peaceful soundtrack. But tonight, it was different. The stillness wasn't calm. It was loaded, expectant. Max, typically a bundle of enthusiasm on their nightly strolls, was oddly subdued. His tail drooped. He sniffed the air but didn't investigate the usual spots. Occasionally he would pause, ears perked, body tense, staring into the darkness between houses or down alleys, as if he heard something Sarah couldn't. At first it was subtle, a shadow that lingered beside Max's too long, the faint pressure on the back of her neck, like static before a lightning strike. But then they turned onto a cul-de-sac, one she'd walked 100 times, and Sarah saw it. Another dog stood beneath a flickering streetlight. It was larger than Max. Its coat wasn't just black. It seemed to drink in the light around it, reducing its body to a silhouette more than an animal. It didn't pant, didn't move, didn't blink. There was no leash, no collar, no owner. Just those still, watching eyes that somehow reflected no light at all. Sarah hesitated, her breath catching. Max growled, low, uncertain, more confused than aggressive. Then the dog began to move, slowly. It followed them at a distance, its steps exact, unnervingly exact. When Max slowed, it slowed. When he stopped to sniff a lamppost, it mirrored the motion, down to the angle of the snout, the twitch of the ear. Even Max's instinctive scratch behind his ear was mimicked, perfectly. Only there was no sound, no jingle of tags, no panting, no rustle of fur. Just that silent, inky shape, moving in tandem. Sarah's unease turned to dread. She quickened her pace. The dog matched it, footfall for footfall. They turned corners. It turned corners. And as they neared her house, her skin prickled with icy realization. The thing wasn't watching Max. It was studying him, rehearsing. Beneath her porch light, Max lifted his leg on a planter. The shadow dog did the same, only what lifted wasn't a paw. It was a pale, too long hand, jointed wrong, with thin fingers that splayed like spider legs. Terror took hold. She yanked Max by the leash, half dragging him inside. The door slammed shut. She locked the deadbolt, then bolted the chain, heart thundering. Outside, silence. No movement on the lawn. No scratching. Nothing. But she knew it was there. Sleep came slowly, fitful and fragile. When it did come, her dreams were full of distorted barking and shadows that peeled away from the walls. She dreamt of Max staring into her eyes while another Max stood outside her window, scratching. The following days were full of second-guessing. Maybe it was a stray dog. Maybe she was tired, stressed. But deep down, she knew that thing had not been a dog. The image of those fingers wouldn't leave her mind. Weeks passed. Then, during another walk, this time in a wooded park just past twilight, she saw it again. It stood at the tree line, still, watching. This time, it wasn't alone. Behind it, barely visible between the trees, was something tall, wrong, gaunt and elongated, with joints that bent backwards, and a face obscured by darkness. Not hiding, lurking, as if waiting for its mimic to finish learning. Sarah blinked. They were gone. After that, things escalated. She began waking in the night to the sound of claws. No, fingers, scratching at the windows. Rhythmic thumps at the door came just after midnight. Always 3 knocks. Never 4, never 2. Just 3. Like a ritual. A test. Max would bark and growl, but never approach the door. He'd retreat instead, tail between his legs, trembling. Then came the voices. They started as whispers, barely audible murmurings echoing down the hallway at night, speaking in strange cadences. Sometimes she would hear her own voice mimicked back to her, distorted, as if spoken through water. "Max, come here, boy." She never said those words out loud. One morning, she found muddy paw prints trailing up the stairs, impossibly large, leading to her bedroom door. But Max had slept at the foot of her bed all night. She searched online, desperate for answers. Buried in obscure message boards and half-forgotten folklore blogs, she found mentions, stories of mimic beasts, creatures that studied loved ones and pets to infiltrate lives. Some accounts referred to them as fetch hounds, spirits that copied, corrupted, and eventually replaced. The fetch didn't kill, it became. People spoke of pets that changed overnight, subtly wrong. Too quiet, too obedient, eyes too empty. Sometimes they'd watch their dogs wagging their tails at mirrors that didn't reflect them. Sometimes they'd swear they heard their own voice calling from the basement when they were upstairs. Sarah grew paranoid. She started photographing Max, comparing his gait, his expressions. She whispered his favorite words: peanut butter, squirrel, walk, to test his reactions. But how could she know what it responded to? It wasn't pretending to be Max for her. It was rehearsing for something else. And always, she felt it. Watching, imitating, waiting. The suburban calm was forever broken. Nights became thick with tension. Shadows stayed too long. Lights flickered. And in the deepest part of herself, Sarah knew. It was only a matter of time. The fetch hound was patient. It would learn. It would wait. And when it was ready, Max wouldn't be the one standing at the door. She would